Welcome everybody. Today I'll be covering the build 42.18 update that just dropped. And it seems we're in a nice consistent cycle at the minute, where every few weeks on a Friday we'll get a Thursdoid blog post with the unstable patch dropping the following Monday. And this build 42.18 update primarily focuses on modding improvements and bug fixing across both single and multiplayer, with some light balance changes. If you guys have been enjoying the videos recently or find them helpful, please consider hitting that subscribe button. So let's jump into the new stuff, where they have added new weapon reload animations for lever action rifles and shotguns. Okay, here we have the AL-94 rifle. Let's see what the new animation looks like, if we have time. Oh, I saw a little lever action there. Oh, much better that is. That is actually very clean. And here we have the AL-92 carbine. Little lever action there on the reload. It's nice to see this added to the game, as the default bolt action one did just look silly. I think I might be tripping, but the rate of fire seems a little slower now with the animation, as it does feel like it takes longer between shots, but don't quote me on that. And then we have the different shotguns, but I'll be totally honest, I don't actually know which ones are different. So any of you shotgun experts out there, let me know down in the comments which one of these are actually different. Whether new or not, these animations do feel pretty clean. They have also added an option to the accessibility section to automatically pause the game when reading maps. If enabled, the game will unpause when a map is closed. One disclaimer is that this setting is known to freeze the map screen on controllers, though a fix will be included in an upcoming patch, so it's recommended that controller users disable this feature for the time being. Another great addition is the added keybind for the sit on ground action. So there is no key assigned by default, but say I set that to Shift plus C, and I would like a quick rest without all of the extra added clicks. Using my new keybind, I can quickly sit on the floor on these lovely, comfortable, safe train tracks. Sadly, they are very safe, but man do I wish we had trains in this game. If the devs ain't doing it, surely one of you incredible modders will. It can't be that hard, right? Surely if you create a vehicle with a train model, there's some sort of way you can map it to only stick along the train line on the whole map. Now there's a lot of that, so that's quite a big ask, but what a cool mod that would be. Doing some Snowpiercer survival, some Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress type shit. They updated assets for propane tanks to reflect US standards. And they added some new garbage bins to Spiffos and Pizza World, which then leads us on to the balance section, where the Park Ranger occupation now has +1 carving and no longer has +1 tracking. And the Rancher occupation now has +1 fitness and no longer has +1 agriculture. The improvised gas mask has been rebalanced. Now, clean rags can be used as rag filters in improvised gas masks. Though not as powerful as commercial gas masks or respirators, it is more powerful than wearing a bandana. And rag filters with less than 30% used data are returned as dirty rags. Now this would have came in very handy for the Necroa mod run that I did on my second channel, because dealing with an airborne virus is not easy. They also adjusted a number of fluid container capacities. The jerry can has doubled in size, going from 10 litres to 20 litres. The base canteen and military canteen went from 500 millilitres to 900 millilitres. And the cowboy canteen went from 1 litre to 1.8 litres. The hydration backpack went from 1 litre to 2 litres, with the camo version going from 1 litre to 3 litres. That's very nice. And the last one is the empty beer can dropping from 1 litre to 300 millilitres. One thing that hasn't dropped is my quality experience with Pine Hosting, who allowed me to set up my Project Zomboid Build 42 server with absolute ease. Whether it's just you and a friend, or a big modded public server, you can get set up within minutes. Their high performance servers have global locations, DDoS protection, and quality support when you need it. Easily tailor the settings and manage your mods with the intuitive server panel. Though, if you're like me and not the most knowledgeable technically, then you can use the new AI assistant to walk you through whatever you need. Or even go hands off and let it do all of the work. Plus, it's not just Project Zomboid, they offer hosting for a wide range of games, from 7 Days to Die to Valheim, The Isle and more. So, if you'd like to host your very own server to play with your friends, you can use code AWP to get 30% off your order. Use the link in the description or pinned comment to help support the channel and get yourself a deal. The next section is sound effects, where they have added new sounds for garbage bins, wooden doors, and crates. They increased the distance zombies play a thump sound from 20 to 70. Fixed toilet seats playing incorrect sound effects when sat on. Fixed smoke bomb sound effects playing endlessly. Fixed ambient sound stopping on player death. Fixed player characters not having a body full sound on death. They fixed incorrect sound effects playing when zombies thump on military chain link fences and when disassembling metal or chain link fences. Fixed zombies thumping on wooden tall fence playing the incorrect sound. Fixed bullet impact sound effects playing in multiplayer when the shots didn't hit anything. And they fixed bullet impact sound effects from other players playing twice, which does lead us on to the multiplayer section, where players can now refuse medical checks, and AFK players won't die anymore if somebody tries to remove their bandages. Fixed the crash to the main menu when a remote vehicle with an attached trailer collides with other vehicles. And they added hearing distant vehicle sounds in multiplayer. Player can hear approaching vehicles from afar again. So yeah, the servers are going to feel a lot more alive now that you can hear stuff from much further away, other people's cars, and gunshots. They fixed being unable to inspect some animal tracks, and fixed animal tracks not generating on the world map, which is a debug feature. So on the topic of inspecting animal tracks and hunting, when this was first announced and came to the game, I was very excited. But I think everybody agrees it's sort of broken and underwhelming. So I would love to see some real improvements to the hunting on this game, especially because I'm addicted to the Hunter Call of the Wild right now. And it just makes me wish other games had hunting as good as that does. And in Project Zomboid, a game where survival really matters, I would honestly just love it. But hey, maybe one day. Also, I will be dropping some videos on the Hunter Call of the Wild over on Awp Plays. They added optimizations for visited map saves, and map visited areas reset after relog. They fixed non-PvP player and vehicle interactions. Non-PvP players no longer receive damage when struck by a vehicle. PvP players receive damage if the player damage from vehicle impact is not set to none, and PvP players can be knocked down by a vehicle if knocked down allowed is set to true. Non-PvP players are no longer staggered or knocked down when struck by a vehicle, and non-PvP players no longer damage vehicles. So pushing pedestrians no longer applies max damage, and vehicle damage no longer applies for persistent pedestrian contacts. The war setting is now disabled by default. They fixed mannequin clothing disappearing visually after relog, fixed renaming a faction, creating a new faction, fixed an exploit that allowed backpacks and their contents to be duplicated, and an exploit that allowed item duplication via foraging. They fixed bombs only doing damage to players with PvP enabled status, fixed server hangs on world save creation, fixed a false positive triggering of the anti-cheat. They fixed barricades not syncing properly for some players, and vehicles sometimes clipping through one another. They also fixed towed trailer having choppy movements for remote players, and vehicles taking too much damage on collision. Fixed the character's body and clothes not becoming dirty. Fixed transferring a large stack of items being interrupted on its own. Fixed calorie burn rate applying incorrectly when sitting in a vehicle. And fixed players being able to ghost through vehicles. Fixed custom spawns breaking the ability to claim safe houses. They fixed fishing rods continuing to be shown in a remote player's hands after breaking, and fishing rods being duplicated after the line break. Fixed not being able to see other players while the vehicle moves in reverse. Fixed campfire temperature. Drying racks are drying faster again. Fixed body damage and muscle strain from over encumbrance accumulating more than 4 times faster on multiplayer. Damn. They fixed items remaining dirty and bloody after washing in the washing machine, and fixed towels not getting wet in the rain. Which leads us on to the modding section. And here's what the blog post said about modding. The team has been working hard on modding support. including back-end support for some multiplayer mods that were affected by recent security updates, new exposed functions for modders, and fixes for several issues with the potential to cause errors related to mods. This is an ongoing effort, so modders can expect more polish in upcoming releases, where non-base module recipes now work in multiplayer. They fixed a game crash with missing recipe items, improved craft history by adding cleanup. They also added get mod tags and set tags for craft recipe, and added get items for input script. They returned the tag fits clothing rack for items for clothing racks. Added event sync faction server, faction name is remove, and this triggers on any change in a faction. They added texture field for trait script, so now you can set path to texture for trait. Fixed mod foraging icon bug, and now it is possible to collect mod items by foraging. And lastly, added public methods for zombie. Do crawler speed, do sprinter, do fast shambler, do fake shambler, do shambler, and get speed type. And next up, we have the fixes, which as always I have massively cut down, or else we would be here all day and night. Day and night. They removed invisible wall between wide staircases, fixed being unable to manually target the ground on controller, updated existing firearm models and firearm attachment placement. They fixed some sprinters being silent. Talk about silent but deadly. Fixed being unable to aim with the right mouse button if aim keybind set to none. They fixed sandbox spawn points for March Ridge, Brandenburg and Irvington being in undesired circumstances. They fixed point-blank calculations for ranged weapons. Fixed character body heat generation being too high after exercising. Fixed smash window not appearing in vehicle radial menu at certain angles. They fixed success or failure text not flashing in the mechanics UI when installing or uninstalling a part. Fixed being unable to place heavy items that are in the character's hand. Fixed zombies on fire not providing illumination. Fixed zombies with the ability to open doors not being able to open doors. Fixed animals being visible through walls and solid barriers. Fixed the player not learning recipes from VHS even though they are announced as being learned. Fixed a number of transparency and clipping outfit issues. They fixed challenge modes not randomizing world seeds. Fixed vehicle radial menus not closing when exiting or entering vehicles. Fixed aerosol and smoke bombs detonating faster at higher frame rate settings. So maybe that's why I burned myself on this Necroa mod run, or was that just my idiocy? I'm sure it's the latter. They fixed holding right mouse button during the walk to, making players stand still instead of strafing. And lastly, fixed the ability to add cheese to omelets. Hell yeah. As they say, save the best for last. Although we do actually have one more section, which is technical/debug, where the wind sprite effects option is now turned off by default, and they have added new functions to the Lua debugger's source window. Also increased the Lua debugger's frame rate from 30 to 60, and restored single player debug cheats to save locally instead of player profile. And that is all for the update today, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of this one. Obviously there was no big groundbreaking additions, but it was a lot of necessary fixes. Hopefully you found this helpful or enjoyable. I will see you in the next one. Have an amazing day, and peace.